Star Trek's new character does for the Arkonians what Worf did for Klingons. For decades, Star Trek has had a recurring problem that comes with a universe this big. Some species exist mostly as concepts rather than cultures. They show up once, make a strong impression, and then vanish into the margins of canon. The Arkonians were one of those races. Memorable, unsettling, and loaded with potential, they were defined almost entirely by a single the original series episode, The Enemy Within, and the strange transporter-induced duplications that episode introduced. Until now, Arkonians were less a people and more a narrative device. That changes with Star Trek's newest Arkonian character, who quietly accomplishes something the franchise hasn't done since The Next Generation introduced Worf, transforming a species from a one-note idea into a living, evolving culture. When Worf first appeared aboard the Enterprise D, Klingons were still largely stuck in their TOS-era identity. They were antagonists, imperial threats, honorable in theory, but shallow in execution. Worf didn't just represent Klingons, he reframed them. Through his internal conflicts, his devotion to a code he didn't always live up to, and his experience as an outsider raised by humans, Klingon culture became philosophical, contradictory, and emotionally rich. Worf didn't just deepen Klingons, he legitimized them. The new Arkonian character performs that same narrative miracle. Before now, Arkonians were defined by duality, literally. Their most famous trait was the ability to split into opposing aspects, embodying humanity's fear of internal conflict and moral imbalance. Fascinating, yes, but limiting. Without a recurring Arkonian point of view, the species remained symbolic rather than personal. They existed to teach Starfleet officers lessons, not to live alongside them. The new character changes that equation by doing the most important thing Star Trek can ever do for an alien species, letting them be complicated. Instead of presenting Arkonians as walking metaphors for duality, this character shows what it actually means to live with that legacy. The internal tension isn't a gimmick anymore. It's cultural, psychological, and deeply personal. Like Worf, this Arkonian is caught between expectation and reality. They are defined by what others assume they must be, while struggling with who they actually are. This is where the Worf comparison becomes unavoidable. Worf spent years being told what a Klingon should be. Warriors don't hesitate. Honor is absolute. Emotion is controlled through ritualized violence. And yet Worf constantly failed to live up to those ideals in the way Klingon society expected, because he was also shaped by Federation values. That tension became the engine for some of Star Trek's best storytelling. The Arkonian character operates in the same narrative space. Their species-defining trait becomes less about spectacle and more about burden. Instead of asking, what happens when an Arkonian splits? The story asks, what does it cost to stay whole? That shift is enormous. It turns a sci-fi concept into a lived experience. Even more importantly, the character challenges Starfleet's assumptions. Just as Worf forced the Federation to confront its own biases about Klingons, that they were either dangerous or noble savages, this Arkonian exposes how easily Starfleet reduces entire civilizations to scientific curiosities. The character isn't there to be studied. They're there to be understood. That distinction matters. One of Star Trek's greatest strengths has always been its ability to revisit old ideas and reinterpret them through modern storytelling. Klingons evolved because the franchise allowed them to grow beyond their original purpose. The same thing is now happening to the Arkonians. What was once a single episode concept has become a lens through which Star Trek can explore identity, self-control, mental health, and cultural expectation. Like Worf, this Arkonian isn't a spokesperson for their entire species. And that's exactly why they work. They're flawed. They resist tradition in some moments and cling to it in others. They make mistakes that aren't cosmic in scale, but painfully personal. In doing so, they make the Arkonians feel real for the first time. Worf didn't just change how fans saw Klingons. He changed how Star Trek wrote them forever. If this new Arkonian character continues on this trajectory, the same legacy awaits. The Arkonians are no longer a footnote in canon history. They're finally a people, and Star Trek is better for it.